Hello, I am Mr. Abba, the teacher of English language. I am here to teach us types of grammatical expressions. Types of grammatical expressions. Those of us who are familiar with the school certificate examinations or GCE, something like senior school certificate examinations, Cambridge examinations, ELT, TS, and all those kind of things should be familiar with this question. Normally in the comprehension passage section, where they lift a sentence or in fact lift an expression, and then they will underline some other expressions inside what they have lifted and ask what grammatical name. Watch the words, the structure of the question. What grammatical names or what grammatical terms would you give to the underlined expression if the expression is underlined, or would you give to the italicized expression? That's I. The second part of the question will say, and what is its function? What is its function? So this lesson will help such candidates to address such a question very, very, very well. Incidentally, over the years, people don't really know how to attempt these questions. More than 70% of the candidates who write these exams, even though they know the question is coming out, but they wouldn't know how to tackle it. And that's why we decided to do this lesson on that, so that if somebody follows the lessons completely, you'll be able to tackle that question. It will not only do that, it will also help you your knowledge of grammar and usage. You can always know when you are right, or when a sentence is correct, or when it is not correct, if you have this basic foundation. So it is foundational. It is foundational. That's why in one of my books I called it, where I created, I called it Foundational Grammar of English. It's foundational. Okay. So the truth is that without a thorough knowledge of these things, these different grammatical expressions, their structures, their functions, knowledge of English grammar, irrespective of our levels, whether we have PhD in whatever, or whether we have O level, or whether we have whatever, first degree, first class, if we don't have this structure, if we don't understand it, our knowledge of grammatical functions will be very, very low. To be very, very low, irrespective of our levels. So we will find it difficult to know whether our usage of English expressions is correct or whether it's not. So that's why we're here to help you learn the different types of grammatical expressions, to be able to identify by their names and to analyze their functions. Our target is to help you, in fact, to help us lay a very solid foundation in our knowledge of English grammar and usage by determining and explaining various grammatical terms. By the end of this course, because it's going to take quite some time, you cannot finish it in one video recording. So by the end of this course, we should be able to identify the various types of words, phrases, clauses, and sentences, and tell their function. That is to say, tell why and how they are used in a particular sentence or in any particular expression. We should also be able to understand enough of the other terms that are usually used in English grammar and how they should be used. So we said there are 4 units of grammatical expression. They are the word, the phrase, the clause, the sentence. There are 4 units of grammatical expressions, or what I call types of grammatical expressions. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be a clause, it could be a sentence. That is to say, the expression that is given could be a word. And if it is a single word, then the next task is, what type of word is it? Could be an article, it could be a noun, it could be a pronoun, it could be an adjective, could be a verb, an infinitive, a participle, an adverb, a preposition, a conjunction, an interjection, or a sentence. Sentence connector rather. Sentence connector. So, if it is more than one word, it's no longer a word. Can no longer be any of this. If it's more than one word, can no longer be any of these. If it's more than one word, then it could be a phrase. It could be a prepositional phrase or an infinitive phrase or a gerund phrase, participial phrase, noun phrase, verb phrase. So it could be a prepositional phrase, an infinitive, and all those kind of phrases I've already mentioned, or it could be a verb phrase. But if it is not a phrase, in other words, it could be a clause or a sentence, in which case it has a finite verb and its subject. One common thing about the clause and the sentence is that each of them may have at least one finite verb and its subject. So if it is not a phrase, then it could be a clause. If it is a clause, which means it has a finite verb. Okay, we're talking about the clause. And we said if it is a clause, it means it could be a main clause or a subordinate clause. Both main clause and subordinate clause, each of them has finite verb and its subject. But the difference is that the main clause can make a complete sense if it stands on its own. It can stand on its own. It can make a complete sense if it stands on its own. But a subordinate clause depends on some other group, in fact, on the main clause to complete its meaning. So if it is a subordinate, then if it is a subordinate clause, the next thing is, what type of clause is it? It could be a noun clause. It could be an adjectival clause, which is also known as a relative clause. You either call it an adjectival clause or I call it a relative clause. It could be an adverbial clause. An adverbial clause. Okay. In which case, even though it has a finite verb and its subject, it does not stand on its own. But if it has a finite verb and its subject, and it stands on its own, then you know it is a sentence. Then if it is a sentence, what type of sentence is it? It could be a simple sentence. It could be a compound sentence. It could be a complex sentence. It could be compound, complex sentence. We're going to look at these details, how you know which is which, because somebody might be, scratching his head and say, which one is this and that and that. Don't bother. That's the essence of this lecture, this course. By the end of the course, like you said, you will be able to tell, even when you are waking up from sleep, whether something is a simple sentence. We're saying that at the end of the course, don't bother yourself about whether you understand or you don't, which one is which, because at the end of this course, whether they wake you up from sleep or from anywhere, you can tell that this is a prepositional phrase, or that this is an adverbial clause, or that this is a compound, complex sentence. I promise you that if you keep faith and follow us diligently. God bless you.